Is Miss Jones here?
Yes, thank you.
All right, you are live.
Thank you, Mr. Stalvey. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Happy New Year. Welcome to the organizational meeting for the South Bend Community School Corporation Board of School Trustees on this Monday, January 11th, 2021. I'm calling this meeting to order. And now I will ask Ms. Hernandez to do the roll call, please.
Yes, good afternoon. Mr. John Anello,
Here.
Ms. Leslie Wesley,
Here.
Dr. Ruth Warren,
Here.
Dr. Stuart Green,
Here.
Ms. Stephanie Ball,
Present.
Ms. Olitha Jones,
Here.
Ms. Jeanette McCullough. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. Next, we have adoption of our agenda. Do we have a motion to approve our agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Wesley, seconded by Dr. Green. Any discussion on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
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 All those against, please say nay. Okay, we have an agenda. Next, we are on to election of temporary chairperson for the meeting. Do we have a motion to approve a temporary chairperson?
I move that Mr. Anello be the temporary chairperson.
Okay, I have a Ms. Wesley and then a second by Dr. Warren. Any discussion on the temporary chairperson? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of approving John Anella as temporary chairperson, please say aye.
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 All those against, please say nay. Okay, John Anella, myself, is temporary chairperson. So now we're going to move on to installation of newly elected board members. This is a very exciting evening. We're welcoming our newest member, Miss Jeanette McCullough. So why don't we can turn it over to Rita Glenn, and we'll have Miss Wesley be sworn in first, and then we'll go from there.
And Mr. Nell, if you don't mind, I'd like to thank Bernardo Malone, Vinson student, alumni, and alumni of SBS TV for recording our events this evening. Thank you, Bernardo. And we're really proud of Riley High School, and Mr. Sean Henderson's here as well.
Thank you. Okay,
Are they going to, is she going to?
go ahead. Where are we going to do it?
Leslie?
There in front of the background.
Over there. Okay. Ms. Leslie Wesley, will you repeat after me?
Yes, I will.
I, Leslie Wesley,
I, Leslie Wesley,
solemnly swear or affirm
solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the laws of the United States and the State of Indiana.
and the laws of the United States and the State of Indiana.
I hereby swear that I possess the qualifications as required by the laws of Indiana for members of the Board of School Trustees. Okay. I hereby swear
I hereby swear
that I possess the qualifications
that I possess the qualifications
as required by the laws
as required by the law
of Indiana
of Indiana
for members of the school board,
for members of the school board,
of School Board of Trustees of South Bend,
of School Board of Trustees of South Bend
Community School Corporation,
Community School Corporation,
that I will not become
that I will not become
interested directly or indirectly
interested directly or indirectly
in any contract
in any contract
with or claim against
with the claim against
said corporation,
said corporation,
and that I will not
that I will not
be influenced during
be influenced during
my term of office
my term of office
by any consideration
by any consideration
except that of merit
except that of merit
and fairness
and fairness
in the appointment of officers
in the appointment of officers
and the engagement of employees
and the engagement of employees
of said corporation,
of said corporation,
and that I will faithfully
and I will faithfully
execute the duties of my office
execute the duties of my office
as a member of this governing body,
as a member of this governing body.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Miss Wesley and the Wesley family. Up next, we'll have Jeanette McCullough be sworn in, and any family that wants to join with her.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jeanette McCullough, solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the State of Indiana, and the laws of the United States and the State of Indiana. I hereby swear that I possess the qualifications as required by the law of Indiana for members of the school board trustees of the South Bend Community School Corporation. That I will not become interested directly or indirectly in any contract with or claim against said corporation, and that I will not be influenced during my term of office by any consideration except that of merit and fairness in the appointment of officers and the engagement of employees of said corporation, and that I will faithfully execute the duties of my office as a member of this governing body. So help me God.
Congratulations to Jeanette McCullough and the McCullough family. Next, we'll have Miss Ball and her family for the reading of the oath.
Right, you're not sure. I know.
We wanted to notification by the clerk.
Oh, geez, thanks. Oh.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I got so much.
The Constitution of the State of Indiana and all the laws of the United States and the State of Indiana.
I hereby swear that I possess the qualifications as required by the law, the qualifications as required by the law of Indiana for members of the school board of trustees of the South Bend School Corporation of the South Bend School Corporation. That I will not become interested directly or indirectly. That I will not become interested directly or indirectly in any contact with or claim against, said corporation, and that I will not be influenced during my term, of office by any consideration except the vast merit and fairness of office by any consideration, except that of merit and fairness, in the appointment of officers, and the engagement of employees of said corporation, and that I will faithfully execute the duties, of my office as a member, of this governing body, so help me God. So help me God.
Congratulations, Stephanie Ball, and to the Ball family. And next, we will have the swearing in for John and Ella.
First and then sign it.
Sir. I, John and Ella, solemnly swear or affirm that I will support. I, John and Ella, solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the State of Indiana, and the laws of the United States of the United States of America, the Constitution of the State of Indiana, and the laws of the United States and the State of Indiana. I hereby swear that I possess the qualifications as required by the laws of Indiana for members of the school board of school trustees of the South Bend Community School Corporation.
I hereby swear that I possess the qualifications as required by the laws of Indiana for members of the Board of School Trustees of the South Bend Community School Corporation.
That I will not become interested directly or indirectly in any contract with or claim against said corporation.
That I will not become interested directly or indirectly in any contract with or claim against said corporation.
And that I will not be influenced during my term of office by any consideration except that of merit and fairness in the appointment or the engagement of employment of said corporation.
And that I will not be influenced during my term of office by any consideration except that of merit and fairness in the appointment of officers and the engagement of employees of said corporation.
And that I will faithfully execute the duties of my office as a member of this governing body, so help me God.
And that I will faithfully execute the duties of my office as a member of this governing body, so help me God. Okay. All right. Good to go. Wow. Okay, congratulations to everyone. We got a lot going on this evening. So next we are on to board officer elections, election of president. Do we have a motion for president?
Mr. Anella,
Yes, Dr. Warren.
in light of your steady hand and calm leadership, I would like to nominate John Anella for the position of president of South Bend Community School Corporation Board of School Trustees.
Okay, we have a motion by Dr. Warren. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Ball. Any discussion on election of president? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of electing John Anella as president, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against, please say nay. Okay, I guess John Anella is president. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And it's an honor and a privilege to serve. We've done this for a number of years and we've got a lot of work to do, so we're just going to keep plugging away. So hopefully 2021 will be better than 2020. Okay, next is on to election of vice president. Do we have a motion to elect vice president? Actually, I'm going to motion, which I can as chairperson, Ms. Leslie Wesley as vice president. Ms. Wesley, we've been through a lot together the last few years, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of battles, and it's been great working with you, serving with you, and it's an honor and a privilege to continue working with you. So we have a motion for Ms. Wesley as vice president. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Ball. Any discussion on vice president? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of Leslie Wesley as vice president, please say aye. Aye. All those against, please say nay. Okay, congratulations, Vice President.
Thank you.
Next, we are on to election of board secretary. Do we have a motion for secretary?
I do.
Yes,
I nominate Stephanie Ball as secretary for the school board trustee for Southland Schools.
We have a motion. We have a second for Ms. Ball.
Second.
Second by Dr. Green. I was like, all right, people, speak up. Do you have any discussion, any comments on secretary? I would just like to add that it's great having you as part of the team. It's great working with you. You're independent. You're smart. It's great. It's great to have a hardworking fellow board member, and so we're really looking forward to adding you as secretary. Okay, all those in favor of Ms. Ball as secretary, please say aye.
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 All those against, please say nay. Okay, congratulations, Ms. Ball, you are board secretary.
Great,
You'll
thank
be
you.
doing a lot of reading there.
Thank you.
Actually, the secretary is a lot like the president. You read a lot, you sign a lot. Actually, Ms. Leslie is off the hook. The vice president just gets the cool title and
Listen.
none of the work. Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we are on to appointment of treasurer and deputy treasurer. It is recommended that Rima Fowler, Chief Financial Officer, be appointed treasurer of South Bend Community School Corporation, and Janice Palmer, Budget Director, as deputy treasurer. Both treasurer and deputy treasurer are bonded in the amount of $300,000 each. Do we have a motion to appoint treasurer and deputy treasurer?
So moved.
Second.
We got moved by Ms. Leslie and seconded by a gaggle of board members. We'll give it to Ms. Jones. Any discussion on treasurer and deputy treasurer? I'll just add that Ms. Fowler and Ms. Palmer have done so much work in the past couple of years, working through the finances, working through the referendum, COVID, and we know that with their steady hand that our finances are in good shape. So thank you very much for all the work and service you've done for us. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those against, please say nay. Okay, great. We have a treasurer and deputy treasurer. Next, we are on to appointments to committees and various organizations. It is recommended that the Board of School Trustees authorize the president to appoint individual board members to any necessary committees or as representatives to various organizations. Do we have a motion to approve appointments?
So moved.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Leslie, seconded by Dr. Green. And then any discussion on the authorization to appoint?
Mr. Anella,
Yes, Dr. Warren.
I would really like to talk about board committees. Is this the time to do that?
That's fine. That's fine. Yep. This is the discussion.
Okay. So when Dr. Green and Ms. Jones and I went to the new board member orientation 2 years ago, the director of board relations for the Indiana School Boards Association told us that we should have no board committees other than the policy review committee. The danger of having board committees is that it encourages, it's an invitation for board members to overstep their roles and to interfere in administrative business. Now, having said that, I will say that if it wasn't for the leadership of Michelle Engel and Dr. Green, I don't think we would be where we are in e-learning right now. But nonetheless, that is an administrative responsibility, and the reason we stepped in was because it wasn't getting done.
But, Ruth, excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but two of the board members can't hear you.
I don't know what to do about that.
Can you hold on for just a minute, okay?
I don't have your things in, and I can't hear what she's saying. Right there.
Alita, can you hear? You can't hear either?
I didn't hear that.
George,
Custom.
can you check Olitha? I'm sorry, Mrs. Jones? She's going.
Next time my ear things, I don't know what I had to
Sorry, Dr. Warren, we're having a little technical difficulty. Bear with us a second. Dr. Warren,
She needs some air.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
we're getting one technical piece and then we'll be ready.
I'm glad that's all it was. I thought Miss Wesley was telling me I broke the rule.
No, you couldn't see their faces. They couldn't hear you. Just a little.
I can see Mrs. McCullough. I can't see Miss Jones.
That they're coming.
Oh, yes, I can now. Yes, I can.
Okay. Just a little technical timeout.
It's a lot of feedback. Just turn that down from here. I'm gonna mute you for a second.
Dr. Warren,
Yes.
you want to go ahead with your comments? I've turned my speaker on so Ms. McCullough can listen until we have headphones for her. So go ahead. Sorry for the interruption.
Okay. Do you want me to start over?
You can start wherever you want.
Okay. So I was speaking to the board committees that we've had in the past. when Dr. Green and Ms. Jones and I went to the new board member orientation 2 years ago, the director of board relations for the Indiana School Boards Association told us in that orientation that we shouldn't have any board committees, that we should only have a policy review committee. And when you have board committees, it's an invitation for board members to overstep their roles and to interfere in administrative responsibilities. I want to say, though, having said that, that had it not been for Michelle Engel and Stuart Green to push forward our one-to-one and e-learning, we wouldn't have been in such a good place for the pandemic. At the same time, that was an administrative responsibility that should have been handled by the previous superintendent. I believe now that we're at the place where we can turn these committee assignments over to the superintendent, which is his appropriate authority. And as board members, we can serve on these committees and offer our perspectives and suggestions as we go. So I wanted to give my perspective on board committees.
Thank you, Dr. Warren. Any other comments on the appointments to committees and various organizations?
All right.
Go ahead, Mr. Collins.
Board President Nella, this is Jeanette McCullough. And I would like to say, as far as the board committee is concerned, I think that we should table that to have further conversation.
Sorry, running around doing tech support. Okay, so Ms. McCullough, you would like to table the appointment of committees in various organizations.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we need to table it for the next executive session for more conversations before we move forward as far as cancel it out.
Would you like to make that as a motion?
I would.
To table that? Okay, so Ms. McCullough has put a motion on the table to table the appointments to committees in various organizations. Do we have a second for the tabling? Okay, we have a second from Ms. Jones. Any discussion on the motion to table the appointments to committees in various organizations? You're on. Oh, sure. Yes, Ms. Jones.
Before we do the roll call, I just want to add, I would have appreciated knowing about this conversation before the decision was made, because it was brought to my attention that we were going to do this after there was an apparent discussion with other board members, which I was not present. And I didn't learn of it until just the other day. So I would have appreciated being a part of the conversation and make that decision. I, on the hand, don't have a qualm either way, but I do want us to be careful that we are not relinquishing authority that belongs to the board. Yeah, I know. I can't. I have to take this up. Yeah. When I put this in, I can't hear. Oh.
Okay, there you go. You're off mute.
Okay.
If you yes, please.
Okay. I would appreciate it being part of the conversation that made the decision not to have the committees into the board's authority. Because I want to just make sure that we are not
relinquishing authority that belongs to the board. So I guess it really doesn't matter one way or another, except going forward, I would appreciate it if we would have these conversations with the entire board together and make that decision, because I wasn't part of that decision-making to decide that. So does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you. Any other discussion on the appointments?
I have a discussion.
Ms. Ball, yes, and then Ms. Leslie.
Sure, thank you. Just two comments. One is I can speak, and this is really personally from being an employee where I was responsible for reporting out to 3 different boards. It's important to make sure that we are able to allow our employees to shine and be empowered to formulate ideas and present those ideas to the board for recommendation. So I just wanted to say in regards to board influence, board activity on committees, you do have to be careful that you're not getting into the weeds of day to day, but really allowing the staff to shine and do what they've been charged to do is my first comment. And then secondly, I would say that today we received hard copies of our board policy manual. And I know for one that one of our charges is to be able to review our policies and update them as appropriate. And there may be an opportunity for us if this motion passes that's on the floor, we might want to consider policy change, perhaps address ad hoc committees, which we would define what they would be, how long they would exist, and when they would expire. So that might be, as we continue to figure out the usefulness of committees, that may be a way to address that going forward is through policy change.
Thank you, Ms. Paul.
If I may.
Well, Ms. Leslie was next, and then you can go, Ms. Johnson.
I also agree with Mrs. Ball that I think that we have to allow for the superintendent and his staff to really do their jobs. I did chair the committee before, and I will tell you that it was as if we work for the corporation, and our duties are to be policymakers. I agree with Ms. Ball also in if the motion passes, that we really do look at an ad hoc committee that can really say, it's too vague. It states that the president has the right to appoint. And so in the past, we have not had discussions before, unfortunately, and that bring up a really good point. I know that there are some positions, when you say committee in various organizations, that those positions are slated this month, and individuals have to be sworn in so that they can continue. But I do understand that we are very transparent and very open as a board, that there would be no outside conversations, that we make everybody inclusive in the decision making. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Leslie. Ms. Jones, yes.
And I just want to emphasize that my issue is not so much whether or not we do this or that. My issue is being a part of this decision-making process. And if I could just give a very brief example of my concern, when I'm concerned about it, I just want to make sure that we are providing oversight, proper oversight. Because some years ago, a board member arbitrarily placed an initiative from the board's committee into the superintendent's committee, and it didn't go so well. And that's one reason why we're still being monitored by the Justice Department, because there was not proper oversight over that after placing it from the board committee into the superintendent. So that's my concern. Whether we do it
that's not a problem. I just want to make sure going forward that before those decisions are made, that we are all privy to the same information.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Anyone else have any additional comments? I just wanted to add, just for everyone's information, that the way board committees work is that they're an annual exercise. If the board wishes to have a committee, the board can approve a committee at the organizational meeting. If the committees from last year, there were 3. There was the suspension expulsion committee, there was the technology committee, and then there's also the safety committee. If the board does nothing, they just expire each year. So whether the board had committees this year, the board could choose to do it next year. All depends on what the board wants to do. And at this point, the superintendent would then have the committees this year, and then like board committees, up to 3 board members, sitting board members, could serve on the committee. So the work would still continue, but obviously it would be a superintendent committee, not a board committee. Just for clarification. Okay, any other discussion on the motion? Okay, I will do actually a voice vote, a roll call, just so that we're clear on the motion. So the motion on the floor is to table the appointment to committees and various organizations. I will go Ms. Ball. Yay, it would be in favor of tabling. Nay is against tabling the appointments.
I vote nay.
What's that?
Nay.
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 Thank you. Dr. Green. Pardon me?
Can't hear.
Can't hear you. Can you give me a thumbs up or thumb down? Okay, nay. Ms. Jones. Yay or nay? Yay. Ms. McCullough.
Yay.
Yay. Dr. Warren.
Nay.
Nay. Ms. Wesley.
Nay.
Nay. Mr. Anella. Nay. Okay, so we have 5 nays, 2 yays. So the motion to table fails. So we're back to the original motion to appoint appointments to committees and various organizations. So all those in favor of appointments, authorizing the president to appoint members to committees and various organizations, please say yay.
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 All those against, please say nay. Okay, so the motion passes.
We have
and
an abstention.
Oh, she's sorry. And please note that Ms. McCullough abstained. The motion passes to authorize the president to appoint members to committees and various organizations. So I'll just go through the list real quick of what we have right now. Currently, the Historical Commission, that doesn't come up until June of 21. And that Dr. Cummings is serving on that. So actually that will become open June of 21. So if a board member is interested, please express your interest. The St. Joe County Public Library, we have an appointment for that this year, but we'll get to that in the regular meeting and discuss that a little more in depth. The Art Center Board, Dr. Warren will continue to serve on that. And we also have Rona Leiden, who is serving on the Art Center Board as well. The Cassidy Costume Collection, Dr. Warren. The South Bend Education Foundation Board, Dr. Green will continue that work. The South Bend Redevelopment Commission, Ms. Wesley will continue that work. The ISBA Legislative Liaison, Ms. Aletha Jones will become the Legislative Liaison this year. The AIDS Ministry, Mr. Rafi Nolan Abrahamian has been serving as the Superintendent's designee. That is also open to if a board member chooses to step forward for that spot. Head Start Board, Mr. Brandon White is serving as the Superintendent's designee. And then this isn't technically an appointment, but for the Empowerment Zone, the board president, myself, will continue to serve on the Empowerment Zone Board per the bylaws, and Ms. Wesley will continue to serve as the 3rd district representative. So that will be the appointments to boards or various organizations, and then there'll be a couple others that we'll have to fill in as we go. Okay, now we're going to adjourn the organizational meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Wesley, seconded by Ms. Jones. All those in favor of adjourning the organizational meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, please say nay. Okay, we have adjourned the organizational meeting, and we will move right into our virtual regular meeting of the South Bend Community School Corporation Board of Trustees. We did not have a closed session this evening. As we call this meeting to order, I will ask Ms. Hernandez to do the roll call for the regular meeting, please.
Excuse me. I don't have the link to get into this meeting.
Okay, hold on one second.
Is it a new one?
Here.
It's the same one. No, you stay on. Stay on.
I was going to say, where'd you go?
Yes, stay on, Michelle.
Stay there, guys.
You had me looking for. I was like, what?
I know, where'd you go? I said, where'd Ms. Jones go? We'll get to the roll call in 1 second. Or a few seconds.
You guys have something else.
Yeah.
While we wait, if you don't mind, Mr. Allen, I just would like to say thank you to all the people it took tonight to do the various videoing. Thank you to Bernardo Malone from Riley, Mr. George Jones, Patrick Stalvey, who's monitoring in an offsite location, our interns who manned our doors and our masks, and Cordell and Karima, and Jackie and Chiquita, who managed downstairs. It took a whole team to get tonight. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who helped out. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ms. Jones, yeah, I see you on the screen, so you're back. Ms. Hernandez, could you do the roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. John Anella,
Here.
Miss Leslie Wesley,
Here.
Dr. Ruth Warren,
Here.
Dr. Sturt Green, Miss Stephanie Ball,
Present.
Miss Aletha Jones,
Here.
Miss Jeanette McCullough.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. Next, we have adoption. Next, we have adoption of agenda. Do we have a motion to approve our agenda?
So move.
Moved by Ms. Wesley. I think I saw Dr. Green's mouth moving, but I couldn't hear him, so I'll take the thumbs up. Any discussion on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, please say nay. Okay, we have an agenda. Next, we have a motion to approve the minutes, the verbatim minutes of December 14th, 2020. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Ball, seconded by Ms. Wesley. Any discussion on the minutes? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes of 12/14/20, please say aye. Aye. All those against, please say nay. Okay, we've approved the minutes of December 14th, 2020. Next, we are on to one of our favorite parts of the meeting. Oh, maybe not tonight, but recognitions. Dr. Cummings, finally your turn.
Thank you, President Ella. On behalf of myself and the entire Board of School Trustees, we wanted to say congratulations to Councilwoman Karen White on her ascension to the presidency of the South Bend Common Council. We look forward to continuing to work with Councilwoman White as well as the Common Council. So we wanted to say congratulations. Congratulations to our Chief Technology Officer, Patrick Stalvey, for his appointment to the Potawatomi Zoo Board of Directors. Congratulations to Ms. Allison Schofield for her election to the Indiana Connected Educator Board. We also want to say, and I see Jason Zook with us tonight, thank you for hanging out with us. I want to say thank you to the Kiwanis Club of South Bend for their recent donation of dictionaries to each of our third grade students. This has been an ongoing tradition for 15 years, and even with COVID-19, we are grateful for this continued tradition and for the Kiwanians' generosity and dedication to South Bend schools. So thank you to our South Bend Kiwanians. And I see Amy Troyer, who is going to talk about Math Surge's recognition as an amazing teacher of the month. Ms. Troyer, our amazing principal at Swanson. Welcome.
Dr. Cummings and President Anella and board members. Matt Surge is a third grade teacher here at Swanson, and he was nominated by Swanson families and students for the National Amazing Teacher Award. He interviewed and was given that award for the month of December, and he's going to go on now to compete with the other National Teachers of the Month awards for the National Teacher of the Year. So we just want to wish him the best of luck and thank him for his dedication to our Scotty Scholars.
Thank you, Ms. Troyer. Congratulations, Matthew, and Ms. Troyer, thank you for your excellent leadership at Swanson. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And I see Mr. Chris Berg, the amazing principal at Clay High School. He's joined by senior class president, Mr. Max Zooks, teacher Derek Albright, and Ms. Wendy Hardman, who's going to talk about the Clay Seasons of Service project. Mr. Berg.
Yeah, so the Clay Can food drive has been a long time staple of Clay High School. And they came to me because they were having some troubles with how do we adapt this in the time of COVID. So they came to me in October, I think it was, with this idea of the seasons of service. And so in November, we collected hats, scarves, and mittens. In December, we put together food baskets. I think one of the Rubbermaid food baskets had over $100 worth of materials in it, including canned foods, vouchers for turkeys, a gift card to Walmart, and some other items in there. For the month of January, we are collecting blankets to donate to some local places like St. Margaret's House and a couple other places. So it's been really neat. And I was just thinking about it. They're going to spend 1/3 of their school year, three months of their school year, serving our community. And I think that was a really awesome job by our student council and our sponsors.
Well, thank you, Mr. Berg, for your leadership. Is Max here? Max, you did a great deal of organizing your senior class to do this. Did Max leave us?
He was here earlier.
Right here. Max, do you want to just give us briefly your perspective on this? We really appreciate your service. And you want to tell us just briefly your perspective on Seasons of Service? You worked really hard on this.
Yeah, well, from a student's perspective, we need something that would fit more in COVID times than our regular mad dash and getting everybody together. So we decided to break it up in 3 months, like Mr. Berg said. And we did hats, gloves, and scarves in November, food baskets in December. We ended up having 32 baskets, raising over $1,800. And we hope to do the same thing again in January.
Well, that's terrific, Max. We're really proud of you. Thank you. And to Mr. Albright and Ms. Herman, thank you so much for your service and for your support in making Clay Seasons of Service happen. We're really grateful. Mr. Berg, thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
And I see Mr. Seitz, the amazing principal at Adams, joining us, who is going to talk about the Indiana State Business Professionals of America. Mr. Seitz, thank you. Who's on mute, I believe.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Dr. Cummings. Thank you, School Board President, Mr. Anella. Congratulations to the new sworn-in board members, and welcome, Mr. McCullough, or Mrs. McCullough. I'm sorry. Welcome, Mrs. McCullough. Extremely happy to see everyone here tonight. So we have our Business Professional of America. We took about 24 students to a competition in December led by Mr. Dan Santos. 19 of those students qualified for the BPA state competition. Again, this is all virtual. We won a total of 88 awards in 21 different categories. And I would like to, I believe Mr. Stalvey said I can share my screen. So that way, normally these individual students would be with us tonight, but I would like to share a picture of them and their names. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you. And I believe, can you see it? Can you see the students? Okay, so like I said, we had 18 students ranging from freshman to senior. Aya Al-Sharafa, Eva Amstutz, Junior Kylie Armstrong, Junior Rabija Bajic, Junior Sadiman Bolden, Junior Christopher Buck, Sophomore Joe Buscarino, Sophomore Angel Kanaho, Junior Alexis Hahn, Junior Madison Hahn, Freshman Grace Kelly, Freshman Jordy LeMay, Freshman Forrest McCann, Senior Alana Murray, Junior Alexandria Smith, Freshman Sebastian Solis, Junior David Tapia Mozo, Sophomore Ala West, and finally Junior Nashawn Williams. And so we're extremely proud of this group, excited to share their accomplishments, and we wish them the best of luck at the state competition in March. So thank you very much for allowing us to present tonight.
Of course, thank you, Mr. Seitz, and congratulations to all your students. And now I'd like to introduce Kathy Sanders, amazing principal at Marshall Traditional School, who is going to talk about a mural painted by Riley student, Mr. Blake Allison. Ms. Sanders, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to tell you a little bit about what's going on at Marshall Traditional School. Ms. Staten, who is our library professional at our building, has been with the corporation for over 28 years, and she has worked diligently to make that library just such a nice place for our students. She started at Lafayette School and then has come on over to Hamilton, and in Hamilton, of course, the family is now at Marshall, and she had some space in there that she really just wanted to fill up and make it a beautiful place for students. And so she was talking with our secretary in our building, Miss Julie Allison, and Miss Allison has a son, Blake Allison, who is a senior at Riley High School. And we found out that Blake is a student that can paint murals. So Blake came in and volunteered his time, and over the Christmas break, painted just a breathtaking mural there in the library. And so I invite all of you guys to come out and take a look at it. Every time we walk in, it just takes your breath away. So we just wanted to come on and thank you, Dr. Cummins, and to the board and to everyone to give us a chance to tell you about this. We just have some amazing students in our corporation, and so we celebrate them tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sanders, and congratulations, Blake, and thank you for your service. And Mr. Anella, that's the end of superintendent recognitions.
Thank you, Dr. Cummings. It was great. It's always great to see all the wonderful things going on in this corporation and all the wonderful people and all the work they're doing. So thank you. And thank you to everyone. Next, it's back to you, superintendent announcements.
And only one superintendent announcement this evening, and it's a moment of silence. And we've had several passing in our family and in our community. And we want the family of Daniel Miltenberger to know our thoughts and hearts are with him. He was a dispatcher. Anne Ruley lost her mother, Phyllis Ruley. Earlier last year, Mr. Tony Flora, the community activist, Indiana chair of the AFL-CIO, passed away. Thought about Tony, he was the first person I met when I came to South Bend. It was a board meeting that I was being recognized at, and he came to the podium and was advocating for more money for Paris. And he walked up to me after and he said, "You're the new director of HR," and he laid out exactly what he thought we should do. But he was a tireless fighter for justice, for fairness, and protecting the rights of all workers, particularly the rights to organize. And we will all miss him. I also wanted to add Capitol Police officers Brian Sicknick and Howard Liebengood. Last week, we witnessed unsettling and dangerous events unfold in Washington, D.C. Lives were lost as our nation capital was desecrated and our democracy was violated. Tonight, we want to commemorate the lives of Brian Sicknick and Howard Liebengood, Capitol officers, who we add to our moment of silence. Today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, by the order of Indiana's governor, we hang our flags at half-mast in their honor and memory. Franklin Delano Roosevelt said that democracy cannot succeed unless those who express their choice are prepared to choose wisely. The real safeguard of democracy, therefore, is education. As a community of educators, our work is to provide knowledge. Our mission is to direct our students toward truth. The South Bend Community School Corporation is one whose mission is rooted in democracy. Our duty is to seek a common cause with one another and to work toward equity and fellowship. To our many teachers, thank you for your crucial work in making an invaluable impression on the minds of our learners. Thank you for tackling a difficult week of teaching about a proud and lasting democracy. Thank you for your work in fostering informed citizens, global thinkers, and knowledgeable leaders capable of compromise, empathy, and understanding. And so if everyone would please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. And President Ella, that's the end of superintendent announcements.
Thank you, Dr. Cummings. That moves us on to our academic focus for this evening, which is school opening update. So I turn it back over to you and your team. I see Mr. White here, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Ella. I will turn it over to our Chief Academic Officer, Mr. Brandon White.
Good evening, Mr. Anello, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Cummings. I will share my screen and we'll get started here.
Good evening. So my purpose
coming today is just to talk about some adjustments we're going to make as we enter the second semester
in relation to our response to COVID-19. So our outcomes have not changed.
We want to continue to ensure that we are
keeping the health and safety of our students and staff as our #1 priority, while also managing the academic outcomes and impacts of our students. We want to constantly communicate a plan that brings our students back in a slow way so we can be mindful to collaborate with the community and
healthcare officials.
We also want to be able to ensure that we are prioritizing those students that we know their program or their needs demand hands-on learning experiences.
And then we also want to always make sure that our plan continues to be one that is flexible and responsive to the given health conditions and recommendations of our district. So early on in the pandemic, Dr. Cummings adopted a theory of action. And we want to first make sure that we provide high quality academic programming through both in-person and remote instruction. That we also realize that it is important that we ensure the safety of all students, families, and staff, and minimize at the greatest extent possible the possibility of transmission through adhering to health guidelines, mitigation, and in consultation with the Department of Health. I'm also joined by my colleague, Ms. Stephanie Stewart-Bridges, who's had a strict focus on addressing the learning, social, and emotional needs of our students. And then we also want to make sure that we have continued to provide food and other economic resources during these challenging times. What is guiding all of our decisions is to constantly use health, academic data to guide our decision-making and maintain flexibility throughout this school year. So we know, and I'll just briefly, that we continue to work, and our teachers do an amazing job of constantly pivoting and adjusting instruction, both in person and remotely during this pandemic. However, all research points to, as well as some of our own personal experiences, that remote learning is not a replacement for in-person instruction. We also have to be aware of the are in need of in-person learning, both for their academic, but also for their social and emotional needs. We also have to realize that our goals are always to bring our students back when we believe it appropriate, because the state is not allowing the same flexibility that they gave us last spring in regards to the number of instructional days, as well as accountability measures. So in collaboration and sign off from the St. Joe Health Department, we feel that with appropriate mitigation, PPE, and constant tracking, that we can look at returning our secondary students back to in-person instruction like we had already done earlier this year. So on January 19th, 2021, middle and high school students will return to in-person instruction. We will follow the exact same schedule and processes that we did previously with our earlier hybrid model, where we'll have Group A attend Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday will be professional learning for our teachers with an asynchronous learning opportunity for our students in grades 6 through 12. Actually, that would be all grades K through 12 because elementary is already on a hybrid. And then Group B would attend school in person on Thursday and Friday. I want to be clear that even though we are returning back to hybrid, the e-learning will continue to be an option for any student and family who wish not to participate in hybrid instruction. As a note, we do have the PSAT coming up on January 26th. On this day, the grades that will not be participating in PSAT administration will have an e-learning day on January 26th. So that would be an adjustment to that schedule. In regards to elementary students, we will continue on our hybrid schedule. We are looking in beginning to identify our students for in-person interventions on case-by-case basis, and that is made through data-driven decision-making processes, such as we're looking at our seniors that are in jeopardy of not graduating on time, students that are serviced under an individual education plan, EL students, and any student that we are identifying with severe learning loss. Again, e-learning will continue just as the same for all elementary students that have continued to participate in learning in that way. The social and emotional supports have continued and will continue. We want to, the mission of this work is to empower all our students to succeed through a tiered system of social and emotional supports provided by our highly effective staff and vibrant family community partners. So just some of the things that we're doing to support these efforts are, we have mind and body wellness for our staff, Time Out Tuesdays to focus on mindfulness. With our students, we continue to have daily contact through home visits, phone calls, and emails. Dr. Cummings made it a priority that we attempt to contact all of our students prior to winter break, and then continue that with monthly contact. We continue to partner with individuals such as the YMCA of Greater Michiana to schedule and to implement additional SEL activities. We continue to engage with Oakland Psychiatric Center and the Bowen Center for other intensive behavioral supports as needed. And then we also continue to build our mentoring opportunities across the district. So the next steps we have is to bring back elementary students to attend in classes 4 days a week. This model would then bring both groups A and B together for 4 days of instruction. Elementary students would attend Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and we would continue Wednesday's schedule as we currently are. We would engage in deep cleaning of all learning environments on Wednesdays. These changes, however, will only occur when it's appropriate to do so, as we will continue to collaborate and follow local and state health officials' direction. We have not established any timeline for these changes at this point in time. We also want to make sure that we are ensuring adequate staffing to support effective teaching and learning. We've also purchased individual dividers for elementary students, and I have some visuals to show you momentarily. Face shields will be distributed to all teachers, including the continuing of wearing masks for all our staff and our students. Scheduled hand washing times, a review of all social distancing and sanitizing procedures will be done before we move to increasing the number of students we have in person. And we are also looking at other PPE and sanitizing efforts, which I'll go into momentarily, such as the UV pilot lighting program we have. In regards to instruction, we are already working on what interventions we will put in place when we have full in-person instruction, such as the adoption of the Fountas and Pinnell evidence-based intervention program and comprehension toolkit. This is just an example of the desk shields that we've purchased for all elementary classrooms. We have approximately 5,400 of those on hand, and we will start delivering those to schools the week of January the 19th. Again, we do not have a timeline as far as when we want to bring elementary students back, but we want to make sure schools already have the PPE on hand when that decision is made. Here's an example, and I am not going to go into a lot of detail because this is a lot of information beyond my area of expertise, but we have purchased and installed 7 units to test pilot UV lighting, such as in our isolation rooms, main office areas, and nurses areas. And so there's just some specifications on what those units actually look like. We also are looking at the airflow mixture and making those adjustments as necessary based on this new equipment to ensure just increased sanitation efforts. Getting back to instruction, we know when our students return that we want to make sure that they have high quality, effective literacy instruction. So we've doubled down on Wilson's foundations and use this time to make sure that all K-2 teachers are trained. We continue to implement daily 5 instruction, which is another literacy instructional strategy. And we are already starting conversations around what summer school looks like K-12. That would include Lit Camp, community partnership expansions, the use of Play-Doh, and what we hope is in-person summer school opportunities for all K-12 students. To go a little deeper with our summer school plan, when we look at high school, it'd be a combination of in-person and Play-Doh at this time. We would focus on credit recovery and skill building. Elementary and middle will have a standards-based focus. We will identify those students that have low growth or participation during e-learning first, and then invite as many students as we possibly can thereafter. Social emotional learning will be a major emphasis of all of our summer school programming. Again, we want to leverage and build upon community partnerships, and also the work that we had hoped to do this past summer in regards to every child a super reader as a foundation of the elementary program, which is called Lit Camp. So at this time, I'm free to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White. Yes, I see Ms. Jones raising her hand. So there's a question right out of the gate, and I'm sure others will have questions and comments as well.
So currently it is not. We are working, we've been working since actually this summer is when we kicked that off. It's not necessarily a curriculum, but it is a way to be able to structure the elementary classroom where we can provide our students with whole group instruction, small group instruction, or differentiated instruction. But what's most important that they get to apply the standards that they're learning in very authentic, rigorous ways on a daily basis. And so we are working, and we want to ensure that all teachers are trained in that strategy before we make it a mandatory expectation across the district. So we are working towards that, and we're getting closer on achieving that goal.
Hey, Miss Jones, you're on mute.
It's that because she's
Well,
right
I know
here,
you
so
can
I can
hear,
hear her,
but-
but nobody else can. Yeah.
But everyone else is missing out.
Okay. Do I need to repeat that one? Okay.
You're welcome to.
Okay. Well, the question was, do all the primary schools have the daily 5? And you answered that. No, not all of them. Now, what schools do have it?
So that would be hard because we're doing it by a teacher basis.
So I can get the numbers,
ensure that information, but I would have to look at where the teachers currently
are trained in each
building. So we're not doing it building by building, but looking at teachers, elementary school and literacy, and then that's how we're working through to ensure that, because what our goal is that no matter what happens with the staffing process, that it would not disrupt any of the professional learning or the efforts that we have in a building.
If I remember right, I thought you said that you were going to start out showing
For daily 5, no. I know we have some other efforts going on right now, but it was not for daily 5.
And did the end grade get implemented is that in all Wisconsin?
Yes, so in my previous presentation, we had talked about the end grade being used in place of an F, so it would not impact a student's GPA. That was used at all grade levels though. So regardless of the GPA, we use that because the other factor in that is it helps us mark or indicate a student's lack of either participation or success during the pandemic. So when we look back at their historical grades and we're identifying what supports are needed, it acts as a marker rather than just us showing up as an F and not have an understanding of why that student had an F in that class.
And I don't know if it's too soon. I don't know if they should get this.
I think somebody's playing with me. Okay. I don't know if I direct this to Mr. Nella or to the superintendent or to you, Mr. White. Can we get a report very soon on how that end grade has been implemented and who's able to take advantage of that?
We can. Specifically, what would you like to see?
I'll get back with you on that one.
Okay.
But yeah.
We'd be happy to get whatever information we can pull.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Anything else?
I'm good.
I know Dr. Warren had a question.
Yes, I was watching the percentages of students who were contacted before Christmas or before winter break. And I noticed, and this was before school ended, but the school percentages were ranged from low to high. And I was wondering how successful were the schools in contacting those students? And if they're not as successful, what are the barriers?
Sure. So I don't have the specific data in front of me, but I could provide that. And I'll be doing that update again this week now that we've been back in school a week. But I know a lot of the barriers are just, it would be helpful if our families contact the schools and just make sure we have the most updated phone number and contact information, because that is the number one barrier that we run into, is just having the inability to actually contact somebody via phone. So our social workers, administrators, even our teachers are working up and teaming together to now go out and do home visits to see if we can even contact or to make sure that a student still resides at that address. But I would just ask the community to make sure that you have the updated information at your school would be very helpful. And it's also just for the safety issues as well. Just if your child became ill at school, it's always kind of helpful for us to have that information. Did I answer your question, Dr. Warren? I'm sorry.
Yeah, but some of those percentages were, in my mind, too low for that to be the complete explanation.
Right. Are you referencing the outreach percentages or the kind of overall the attendance rates?
No, the outreach percentages.
So with some of those lower outreach percentages, the directors of school to increase that and to make sure that we are making connections with our students.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Dr. Warren. Yes, Ms. McCullough.
Hi. Hi, Mr. White. Maybe you've answered this question already, but I want to ask, what type of support are we giving seniors that are struggling? Because I know they're planning to graduate pretty soon, and I know there's a lot of kids that are struggling because of this e-learning. So I'm just curious as to know what kind of support are they getting to make sure that they are successful.
Sure. So one of the main initiatives that we actually began prior to the end of the first semester was that any senior that was currently failing one or more courses was actually invited back into the high school to do all e-learning within the library or another space so we could provide the social distancing. And we even provided transportation back to the school so they could at least have support and to do their e-learning at the building. Another thing that we're doing right now is we just had a conversation with the school counselors just today as an additional follow-up to address and prioritize any senior that is not on track to graduate. They need to be scheduled right away. We're also going to complete the course request for summer school sooner so we can see what the need is. We're also identifying if a student was not successful during e-learning, that's one of the students that we would not put in one of the online Plato courses, but we really need to look at in-person instruction for that student so they can gain that credit and so they can graduate. So we're trying to do a lot so our students can earn those credits back prior to the summer because we want them to graduate on time. And so we are trying to use Plato and look at how can we provide Plato coaches to make sure that we're staying on the students, making sure they're logging into those classes and making the progress so they can complete it on time and graduate on time.
I appreciate that. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you, Ms. McCullough. Ms. Ball?
Mr. White, I just had it was just an observation. It's a question in one of the slides. You showed us a picture of, I think, the desk shield. And
I was just hoping you didn't say it was a picture of the UV.
No,
I can't answer a lot of questions.
It was just a quick look, and I thought, is that cardboard? Because it just didn't look substantial. So I'm assuming if that's cardboard and I don't know, plastic is something that we intend to just switch out often, so we have a lot of them on hand. What is that material?
Right. So no, it is. It's cardboard. It's cardboard. Divided. What we knew was that this was something that we would not want to reuse. If a student was, the pieces still can be wiped down and sanitized. And we do have a lot on hand, so if we have to replace it, or a student needs we can to replace out if we need to.
Okay, so this is for the student desk.
Yep, for the elementary
okay.
students.
Do teachers get something different, or do teachers want?
So our teachers, so they will have their mask.
Sure. So they're not going to have any kind of little desk barrier like this.
They won't have the divider. No, so just because we realized they around the room, so we thought having the face shield would still give them the opportunity to walk around the room.
Sure.
As needed, but still have protection.
Okay. Just in looking at this little example, all I can imagine is them falling off the desk, deteriorating very quickly. So we better have a lot of these on hand. I'm just saying they don't look too sturdy in this picture, but if that's the best that's available or the most useful product, then That's just my thought as a parent. You know, as soon as that thing gets sprayed down and a little bit soiled, it looks like it would fall apart.
The ease with them is that being made out of cardboard, being plastic, we can
get rid of it.
replace them at a much faster rate than if we had invested in like and once things like that, and then somebody would have had to sanitize those on a regular basis and things like that. So that way, if these are soiled or things like that, they can be replaced.
And so the point is, we have plenty on hand. They've been ordered.
Right. Currently, we have 5,400 currently, and as we need more, we can order more.
Okay.
Good comment from a parent. You could tell that they won't last long. There is one, Dr. Green's had some audio issues, so he did have a question for you, Mr. White. He was asking about super readers in the summer and why we're doing it in the summer, not during the year. What distinguishes it from other literacy approaches?
Oh, so sure. Lit Camp, that is a summer design program, is based on becoming a super reader. By no means does that mean that we're waiting till the summer to employ those strategies. That I just put that in there because we've used that in the past. So to build that connection between the specific Lit Camp summer program is based on the work by Pam Allen and Dr. Morrell.
Thank you. I saw Dr. Green nodding his head, so he can
Okay.
he can message us.
Sorry, I can't see him. I only can
he
see
can
my
message
screen,
us any other questions. And one question I had is, do we have some data on where our kids are right now? I know we talk a lot about learning loss. I mean, I'm kind of terrified to see what it looks like because these kids have been in some form of non-traditional learning for quite some time. And where do we stand quantitatively and qualitatively, or what's your view on that?
Sure. So I'd be happy to put something together, but just to kind of answer that question briefly, we really want to look at a triangulation of our data. So we use the NWEA scores. Again, as you mentioned, being in a pandemic, those scores aren't as reliable as what we could normally kind of bank on when informing instruction. But we know we've had a far greater increase in the amount of students earning the N letter grade than what we have seen in the past. If when we look at the number of Fs that we have, and right now we're working on our MAP fluency data, which actually measures and assesses beginning reading skills. So we'll have that data as well. So once I get all of those in, I'll be happy just to kind of show you where we are currently with those data points.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much for the presentation, Mr. White and Ms. Bridges. And then academic focus, we're still on at 7.02, so it's the EduStaff application process.
And so I'd like to ask our Chief Operations, our Assistant Superintendent of Operations, Mr. Rene Sanchez, who is joined
Hello, board members. Hi, this is it's Rene Sanchez, and tonight I will be. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Renee. I just had a really great setup, and I passed it to you and Jason and introduced EduStaff, but I was on mute. So now we will let you take it away. Thank you.
Okay. I was wondering because okay, all right, that's totally fine. So thank you, President Nella, Dr. Cummings, board members, for having us tonight. We have a short presentation to talk about the EduStaff application process, and I am joined tonight by our Director of Certified Talent Management, Jason Zook, and a couple of representatives from EduStaff, Mr. Ray Massey II and Ms. Gay Williams. And so let me go ahead and dive into the presentation. Can folks see the slides? Okay, great. Thank you. All right. As you remember, we came to you whoa, that's too fast. Sorry. We came to the board a few months ago asking for permission to increase the substitute pay rate so that way we could account for the numbers of substitutes, the number of openings that we had on a daily basis. And so thanks to you, we were able to increase our substitute rates from 75 to 100 and the other rates that you see here. By approving those rates, we're able to become more competitive and even exceed the rates that are available for our neighboring school districts. And so with that being said, what I'd like to offer both Ray and Gay the opportunity to speak to the application process and perhaps add some information about whether the salary rates have increased applications. So go ahead.
So thank you so much for having us. My name is Ray Massey. I serve as National Development Team Director for the organization. And I'm flanked by my colleague, Gay Williams, who is the District Ambassador for the state of Indiana for EduStaff. And we just want to say thank you so much for having us here today. Renee, do you have my slides that I gave you? Or okay, fantastic. So let's just get it moving here.
So yeah, so I transferred your slides to our slides. So you see it?
Oh, I see. This is okay. All right, that's fine. Not a problem. So the first thing they do, any substitute does before applying to us is go to our website to actually start the process. They fill out our application, and once they fill out our application, of course, it goes through just every other step that every individual is required to do. You know, I-9s, state, federal taxes. Of course, there's a background check piece. We ask them to submit IDs for that I-9 purpose. Then we had them attend a virtual workshop. That virtual workshop is where we collect all their documentation and they submit it to us via Dropbox. Once it's submitted to us via Dropbox, we actually vet the application, make sure everything is in there before we send it to our processors. Our processors then receive it. They start processing the application. Once the application has been processed, the individual that applied is actually receiving an email. So once we get the application, the individual receives an email, says, hey, welcome to EduStaff. We've started processing your application. Unless anything is missing in the application, they will not hear anything else from EduStaff until it comes time for them to be approved. Once they are approved, to work for us, they will receive an approval email. Now, the required documentation, let me just kind of go over it in detail since I kind of glossed over it. So, of course, they got to have a signed app. They need a valid form of identification. They need official transcripts. The 30 college credits to sub-teach, high school diploma if they want to be a sub-para, of course. Of course, there is a background check with DCS. We do provide them the information to Safe Hiring. We send them a link for that. And if they're working with some younger children, of course, they receive the Kids Tracks information as well. And then, of course, they have to have the valid Indiana teaching license or substitute teaching permit to actually to work. Now, subs are able to contact us anytime, Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m., 4:30 p.m. We do have a live chat feature for all of our substitutes. If they do not want to give us a call, they have the option to go directly to our website and ask a question right there, or they can email us. Also, too, the applicants and subs can contact their recruiter or in this case, Gay Williams, our district ambassador. They make themselves available through their cell phones, through text messaging, email, or if they can, we actually text messages, or when we can, we actually send text messages through our manager database through our website. We're talking soup to nuts, beginning to end, for an individual to actually apply with us to get approved. If everything is there, if they have all the documentation, it's usually no more than 2 weeks. Now, we do know that sometimes that this can get hemmed up, especially depending on where an individual has lived because of the background check. There are going to be additional pieces to that. But to give you a broad idea, if everything is in, if they do everything that we tell them to do and ask of them when they are supposed to, it's usually about a 2-week process. But that's about all I have for the application process for EduStaff. Unless, Gay, you want to add something.
Well, most of the documentation is what, kind of what Ray referred to, is the fact that if they don't get us their official transcript, or they don't get us their permit, or they don't do the background check, that delays their approval process. I've had subs that have literally turned everything in. Just my meeting last Thursday, which was for a virtual meeting from 1 to 3, we had a sub approved by 4 o'clock because he had everything turned in, sent to the processor. So it can be as fast as that if they've got it together. If they don't have it together, that is the delay in us. It's not us, taking our time at the beginning of the school year, though, and we've had these issues. You guys have as well. All the districts do. Getting a background check done quickly can take longer, more like 2 weeks to get it done, because they get back ordered through the company. And same thing with Elvis at the Department of Education. They get so many permits coming in from after the 4th of July to Labor Day that it takes them a while to process everything. So certain times of the year, we can't always do a fast turnover time, or a sub can't always get everything done they need because the system may be bogged down. It bogs down at Christmas too, simply because people are on vacation or they're not open for the regular hours. There's a lot of reasons when it comes to a background check too, when they have to send out if that sub has lived in another state. We have no control over, Safe Hiring has no control over how fast that other state will do their part of that background check and send them the results as well. So just be aware of that. Some of this is out of our hands, and we apologize for that, even though there's nothing we can do about it. But if anybody has any questions about this, I'd be glad to talk to you about this at any time.
At this point,
Thank you.
we would like to entertain any questions that may be available.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from board members? Okay. Pardon me? Well, yes, we'll allow the superintendent to ask a question.
I see where you have to have a minimum of 30 credits. Is there any data in other districts that you serve that if you go below that, say to 15 credit hours, that you're able to generate more subs to help out in schools? Is that a number that is prohibitive?
Yes, it can be, especially when we're hurting for subs. One of our first district we partnered with was Warsaw, and they were at the 30 college credits when we partnered with them in 2017 at the beginning of last school year. So the 2019-2020 school year, going into that, they lowered theirs down to a high school diploma to get more subs involved. Also, when people come to our virtual meeting, we do classroom training with them, because 75% of the subs that we do get don't come from a traditional educational background where they're not teachers. So we want to give them all the tools that they might need to use in that classroom so that they can be better and know what's expected of them with their job. I have, for one, Ray and I are both from education. There's nothing worse than coming back the day after you have a day off and they say, yeah, your sub left at lunchtime and never returned. So we like to make sure that that doesn't happen, and we really want to educate our subs on what's expected of them in the classroom. So with the 30 college credit hours, it does help with certain high school classes possibly, but not necessarily, because the majority of the subs are doing review work. Unless they're in a multi-day assignment, they're not going to be teaching you content. And generally, they're doing workshops. So that 30 college credit hours can work that way. But like, for example, I'm going to use Warsaw again. When I get the younger subs that don't have the 30 college credits, and they're under the age of 20, they can only work in elementary. We don't allow them to work in middle school or high school because of that age it's kind of too close. So then once they turn 21, we allow them to do middle school. And then once they hit 22, which is the age that they would normally graduate from college, then we allow them to work at the high school level unless there is a specific sub that maybe a principal wants at the high school level and says, I want this, and they sign off on that. We kind of deter that age group from doing the secondary ed.
Thank you. Thank you, Gay. Thank you, President Ella. Thank you for being here tonight. And I specifically want to say thank you to all of our substitute teachers out there. So thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, Dr. Cummings. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the presentation and the information. Next, we are moving on to our hearing of visitors on action agenda items. I'm going to ask our newly installed secretary, Ms. Ball, if we have any comments submitted on action agenda items this evening.
Chair Anella, there are no comments submitted on action agenda items this evening.
Okay, thank you. So then that'll just move us right to our consent agenda, which is 9.01 through 9.06. It's recommended that the Board of School Trustees accept the attached financial reports and statements, the attached consolidated registers of claims and distributions of payroll for payment, the personnel decisions listed on the attached reports, resolutions requiring annual adoption, which there are none this evening, gift applications and fundraisers on the attached reports, and contracts for $50,000 or less. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Ms. Wesley, seconded by Dr. Green. Yes, Ms. Jones.
I didn't know when to interject this question. I want to know more about the contracts.
Pardon me?
I want to know more about the contracts, the two contracts that are less than 50. One is for marketing strategy and recruiting, and fellowship of Harvard College data strategy. Can I understand that?
She's
Well,
muted.
so normally under the consent agenda, we don't have actually a discussion because it's under 50,000. I guess we could ask the superintendent to give us some more information on that.
And if that's not appropriate, I can just abstain because I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay. Yeah, I guess, yeah, that would, you can abstain on this, and then maybe in the future, we could have them answer any of those questions beforehand. Okay, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 All those against, please say nay. And we have two abstentions, Ms. Jones and Ms. McCullough. Okay, the consent agenda has been approved. Action agenda items 10.01. As recommended, the Board of School Trustees approve weighted grades for dual credit courses. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Ms. Wesley and seconded by Dr. Green. Do we have any discussion on the approval of weighted grades? Or Dr. Cummings, why don't you or Mr. White give us just a little background on this, and if board members have any questions?
Happy to. I'm going to pass it to our Chief Academic Officer, Mr. Brandon White.
I figured you were looking this way, so.
Sure. So in 2015, the board actually approved the original policy that included weighted grades for AP and IB courses. As we continue to expand dual credit options in our district, we have a good issue here, but we don't want to put that burden on our students. So currently we have a lot of students that are engaged in dual credit courses, and those courses can be just as rigorous as the AP courses and the IB courses that we do. And so this action item is really just giving us the opportunity to then start to build what it looks like. We do plan to start to implement this during the 2021-2022 school year.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from board members? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of approving 10.01, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those against, please say nay. Okay, we've approved 10.01. Now we are on to 10.02. It is recommended that the Board of School Trustees adopt the resolution extending FFCRA leave through June 30th, 2021. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Wesley, second by Ms. Ball. Give us a little background on this resolution.
I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Kubicki and Mr. Sanchez, but I just want to say I'm really proud of their work. I was in the Indiana Urban Superintendent Association earlier this week where they were having the same conversation, and we were well ahead of our time. So should the board choose tonight, I just want to say thank you for your forethought and for the support of our employees, but I'll let Mr. Sanchez, Mr. Kubicki explain the extension.
Thank you, Dr. Cummings. So this resolution refers to the Families First Coronavirus Response Act.
Oh, you can?
Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So this resolution refers to the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, which actually sunsets on December 31st this past year. And so all of the benefits that came from the FFCRA also finished on that day, knowing that the pandemic is still with us, knowing that there's if people need to be quarantined, if people need to be isolated, we wanted to make sure that those rights, just the ability to be able to not continue to spread the virus and to be able to take care of themselves and to be able to have this, this peace of mind that it was available to them beyond December 31st. And so we are planning on extending it through June 30th, or should the U.S. Congress take it up and expand it going forward, then that'll be the time at which it expires. So, Mr. Kubicki, will you expand on the details?
Sure. As Mr. Sanchez said, this was legislated leave in response to the coronavirus. Although the coronavirus hasn't ended on December 31st, Congress did not renew this. We just want to make sure that our folks, if they have not used, it's 10 days of leave if you're required to isolate or quarantine. And then there's an additional 10 weeks of leave if you need, if your child care has closed or the schools have closed at 2/3 pay. So this would just extend that leave for those that haven't already used it. We tried to keep it simple, so it just basically says we're going to treat it like it didn't actually expire on December 31st. We do need to finalize a couple of MOUs with our employee groups, but in general, we've received preliminarily positive responses to us taking this first step.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from board members?
Mr. Anella.
Yes, Dr. Warren.
Dr. Cummings, you mentioned that our corporation was ahead. Could you tell me more about that?
No, I'm happy to. Members of IUSA were debating whether they were going to do this or not, whether they were going to extend the leave, or whether they were going to make folks use their sick and personal ill days. And so I reported that we were in the process of asking our board to do this already, and that I thought it was a really good thing, really positive for our employees. And should the board decide to do it, it sends a really positive message to our employees that we care about them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Warren, and thank you, Dr. Cummings, and your team for working on this as we work to be a good employer during these difficult times. Any other questions, comments from board members? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of approving 10.02, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, please say nay. Okay, 10.02 has been approved. Now we are on to 10.03. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees waive multiple readings of revised policy 0142.5. Do we have a motion to approve?
Moved.
Moved by Ms. Ball, seconded by Ms. Wesley. Mr. Kubicki, I see you there, so why don't you just tell us real quick what policy this is?
Sure. The 0142.5 has a requirement in it. It's actually titled orientation, but interestingly enough, it also discusses appointments to boards and committees, and boards in particular, and the ones it addresses are statutory. We, by statute, have certain seats on the art board, the history board, and the library board. We have, some time ago, the board adopted a policy that required board members to fill those seats. I've worked a little bit with Dr. Warren on this. It is not required by law that board members fill those seats. It's just that the board gets to appoint who goes to those. And we're looking to make sure that we are meeting deadlines with regard to the library board in particular, and putting a person on there who may not be a board member. And that's why we're asking to suspend the 2 readings, and then the next item on here will be the actual approval of the amendment that would allow the board to appoint somebody other than a board member to the library board.
Thank you for the explanation. Any questions, comments from board members?
Mr.
Yes,
Nell,
Dr. Warren.
I just want to say this has been really problematic with the library board because they meet on at the same time and day that we do. So even if you appointed a board member, they would either have to miss our meeting or the library board meeting. So since there's no reason why a board member has to be on the library board and we can appoint some other designee, this is sort of what's behind this policy.
Well, and Dr. Cummings is currently serving on the Historical Commission, and we've had other people serve on the library and the art center as well. So any other questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of approving 10.03, please say aye. Aye. Okay, all those against, please say nay. Okay, 10.03 has been approved. And now we are on to 10.04. It is recommended the Board of School Trustees approve amendments to Board Policy 0142.5. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Wesley, seconded by Dr. Warren. So Mr. Kubicki, you were just talking about this policy, so then explain why this next step is necessary.
Yeah, so this just amends the language in the current policy. So under the Art Association, the current policy says the board will select 1 member from their own body, which would require a board member to serve on that. You guys can continue to appoint a board member. The board has that authority, but this just gives the board the flexibility. Similarly with the Historical Society board, it amends that language to allow the board to select just individuals for those seats. And then the St. Joseph County Library Board, which is the one that kind of led to this becoming a concern. We specifically eliminated the language that 1 appointment will be a current board member of the board at the time of the appointment. And then we also took out the language that says the other appointment may be whoever the board determines they want to appoint. And then by eliminating that language, either of those appointments could be anyone. They don't have to be a board member. So that's all we did.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from board members? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of approving 10.04, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, please say nay. Okay, thank you very much. 10.04 has been approved. Items from closed session is next. We did not have a closed session, therefore we have no items from closed session. So now we're moving on to hearing of visitors on other items. This is virtual comments by the public or on other items, 45 minutes. The public is invited to provide comments to the board regarding other items. Those wishing to address the board on other items that will not be voted on, must send an email to boardcomments@sb.school Prior to the start of the meeting, the email should include number 1, their name and address, and number 2, their comments, which would take 3 minutes or less when spoken. Individuals may only speak once during this section of the agenda. Personnel issues are not to be addressed during open sessions of the school board. The board president may terminate a person's comments if they are personally directed, abusive, or obscene. Ms. Ball, do we have comments on other items this evening? I'm sure we do, so I'll have Ms. Hernandez.
Yeah, the answer is yes, we do. I'm sorry, I was looking at that screen. And I do have, I don't want to say a point of order or correction, but there was one comment that was under action items that I did miss because of being a newbie to my role as secretary.
That's okay. Why don't you read the public comments, and if there's time, then you can read that one at the end. So it's
Sure.
not.
And the answer is yes, there are public comments.
Okay.
So,
And then Mr. Hernandez will keep the timer. Thank you.
okay, let me get to them. Okay. So the first comment that we have is from Kimberly Sipes. Is dated January 10th, 2021. Esteemed South Bend Community School Corporation board member, I am writing today to ask you to seriously reconsider your decision to move back to a hybrid schedule for students. The timing of this decision is not appropriate. All students should be learning at home for the safety of students and adults alike. The COVID-19 numbers in St. Joseph County have decreased slightly, but are still way above the threshold that was set at the beginning of the school year. The most recent data on the ISDH website shows new cases averaging around 200 per day. Our positivity rate is trending higher and increasing. Putting staff and students into spaces where they will be surrounded by people outside of their bubble at this time is dangerous and unwarranted. Another serious issue is the continued lack of ventilation in our classrooms. It was stated in an earlier board meeting that buildings would not be able to have the airflow at maximum in the winter due to problems with keeping the heat in the building. With lower outside temperatures, teachers will be less willing to open their windows for additional ventilation. My classroom currently has the heating unit turned off, awaiting repairs. I am concerned that no air is moving in my room. That's fine when I am the only one there, but not acceptable when I am forced to share space with people who may be ill. Hybrid teaching is the worst of the possible educational models. With students in 2 places at the same time, no one is getting the undivided attention of the teacher. Teachers must constantly stare at the computer to be able to answer questions or comments in the chat. But they must also constantly monitor the students in the room for questions and issues there. Activities can still not be hands-on when 2/3 to 1/2 of the students are virtual. Students in class are still staring at screens all day to complete the virtual activities that are required to accommodate both groups of kids. Education suffers when the teacher cannot focus on the students. Wearing a mask all day is one thing. Wearing a mask all day while presenting information verbally is difficult.
30 seconds.
There are no breaks. The kids get no breaks. Keeping students socially distanced is also an impossible challenge. Students tend to bunch up in hallways. Teachers cannot always monitor because we are closing meets and opening new ones. Our classrooms do not have space to keep kids 6 feet apart. My desks are currently 3 feet, 1 inch apart. Depending on the size of my in-person classes, I cannot always have space students out to 6 feet as recommended by the CDC. Then I have to choose who should have the extra space and who shouldn't. That is not okay. Stressed out teacher. Oh, time's up. Okay. Sorry, it's hard to hear. Yep. Sorry about that. Okay. And she did not give her address. I'm going to go to the next comment, which is provided by Christine Brady. I would like to submit my opinion about having students go back to school full time. I teach at the elementary level and my stay-at-home children are doing next to nothing. They come on to Google Meets, turn off their cameras, and then leave. They are learning absolutely nothing. Parents have been contacted and still the children do very little. We are going to be in a very bad place next year if these students are allowed to pass on to the next grade when they haven't learned a thing except how to become more and more complacent and lazy. All students need to be back in school full time. This includes high school and middle school. The teachers at the high school level also need to be in the buildings teaching. My two high school children both have had only 3 out of 7 teachers actually in the building teaching. Why go back to hybrid if all they are going to do is sit on the computer in a school classroom? We are falling further and further behind. Just my opinion as both an educator and parent. And unfortunately, there's no address associated with Miss Christine Brady. The next comment is from Heather Morricone, dated January 11th, 2021. Dear Dr. Cummings, South Bend School Corporation Administration, and members of the school board. First of all, thank you for continuing to give parents and guardians the choice for their students to continue with e-learning this semester. My family is very grateful for this option, and we are hopeful that this will continue to be an option for the 2021-22 academic year, particularly considering that students younger than 16 are not able to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Though I am grateful to be able to keep my child home during this global pandemic, I feel compelled to write today with my concerns for the broader community. There are several reasons regarding your decision to return to in-person hybrid instruction on January 19th that raise concerns for the safety of our community. 1, the number of COVID-19 pandemic cases has increased in our county since December when you decided to pivot the corporation to full e-learning for the safety of all. 2, the COVID-19 vaccine rollout in Indiana has not yet included the general population. In other words, teachers, staff, administrators, and most parents and guardians will not have had their vaccinations by January 19th. 3, we are currently experiencing what could be the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic that is made worse by the arrival of in the US of a variant strain of the virus, which is even more contagious. We must protect our area hospitals and health care personnel by minimizing community spread. Number 4, there was no survey of parents, teachers, and staff to solicit feedback on the return to in-person hybrid instruction. Many have pre-existing health issues or have loved ones with health issues that cause them to be highly susceptible to this deadly virus. Please reconsider your decision to go back to in-person hybrid instruction on January 19th. We should be better served to wait until March 1st, as Michigan is doing, to determine if COVID-19 cases have subsided. Thank you for your time and attention to this grave matter, which impacts our entire community. Heather Morricone, South Bend Community School Corp parent, 17355 Woodhurst Road, Granger, Indiana, 46530. Okay, repeat the same. The next comment is from Molly Burns, 4039 Winthrop Drive, South Bend, Indiana, 46614. Thank you, South Bend Community School Board, for taking the time to read my comment and concern. I am a teacher here in our district. I teach the youngest students we have, preschool and kindergarten. I also have already had COVID once, and I fear getting it again. I know my lung capacity has been compromised and my overall health is not what it was before COVID. I have been hearing rumblings that we are going to be pushing forward with full face-to-face for our elementary students. I think this should not even be considered until all elementary staff have been offered a chance to get the COVID vaccine. We have created the safest learning environment that we can in the hybrid model. We have spent countless hours making sure each child is safely distanced and everyone has space to work. We spend hours each day cleaning and recleaning material, even more so in an early childhood room. I cannot imagine reopening fully with 30 plus children in a room. The CDC is still advising for social distancing, and in a classroom of 30 constantly moving children who barely can keep a mask on, it is near impossible. I want to express my opinion now and my concern now for your consideration before any discussion of this happens at the board level. We are not ready for full face-to-face, and we will not be until the vaccine is available to all school staff. I urge all community members to contact Governor Holcomb's office and press for school staff to be returned to the second wave of vaccines. Thank you, Molly Burns, early childhood teacher, Marquette Montessori, Primary Montessori Academy. The next comment is from Abigail Golden. Abby Golden, 218 North Tuxedo Drive, South Bend, Indiana, 46615. When considering in-person school, please consider the following. 1, the Health Department COVID metric press release today showed a positivity rate of 14.3%. That has steadily increased since the beginning of the year. I am sure it will continue to rise just as it did after Thanksgiving. 2, the new variant of the COVID virus has been discovered in Indiana. This is much more contagious, and there is concern being looked at right now by medical and scientific personnel that it is more contagious in children. 3, also, I might wanted to have made a comment about the upcoming school calendar, but since that calendar wasn't included in the board docs, it was hard to do so. All documents that you are voting on should be included in the board docs, especially since meetings are virtual. Thank you, Abby Golden. The next comment is from Linda Lucy. I need to download this letter. One moment, please. Linda Lucy, President, NEA, South Bend, 215 West Western Avenue, South Bend, Indiana, 46619. Members of the South Bend Community School Corporation Board of Trustees, we are not there yet. I am writing this just days after the ISTA and NEA-SB family has suffered deaths directly due to COVID-19. We are asking this administration and school board to be patient as any plans are made to expand the number of students by bringing them into in-person instruction. Until there are 2 shots in the arms of our teachers, the potential for greater community spread is a fact. It was reported today that the new strain of this terrible virus is in the state of Indiana. This strain spreads more rapidly. Now is not the time to let our guard down and to expand in-person instruction. It is disappointing that apparently the South Bend Community School Corporation does not believe that discussion with NEA-SB concerning bringing more students to in-person instruction at this time would not be necessary nor valuable. Given the recent data for our community and teachers/staff not being given any priority to receive the vaccine, any increase in in-person instruction should not occur until teachers/staff have 2 shots in their arms. It has been publicly announced that middle school and high school students will be returning to hybrid instruction on January 19, 2021. NEA-SB has learned that some elementary students are being given an invitation to come into in-person from their hybrid grouping. Without any meaningful discussion with NEA-SB, we are aware of at least 1 elementary classroom where both hybrid cohorts in 1 classroom have returned to in-person learning for 4 days of instruction each week as early as last Thursday. This is interesting because many teachers are getting more requests from parents to transfer their students to virtual instruction. We were not aware that students returning to in-person instruction could possibly be the results of a deal made between a principal or individual teachers and parents. It was our belief that any change in a return to in-person instruction would be made by this school board openly, taking public/parental and teacher input into such a consideration. In closure, it is not time to act as if this deadly virus does not exist, nor that we have it manageably contained within our South Bend community. This deadly virus is transmitted by community spread. Did you say time's up?
30 seconds, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Please make decisions that will keep everyone in the South Bend greater community as safe as possible until our teachers and greater members of this community are fully vaccinated. We are not there yet. Respectfully submitted, Linda Lucy, NEASB President. There was one other item, but it was basically a link. So it wasn't, I don't know how to treat this. Yeah, it's just a link talking about the new strain. And that is the end of that portion of, let me just double check.
And then if you want to read the action agenda item one that was overlooked, would be fine.
I do. And I thank the young man who brought this to my attention that I did miss it, because there's actually a file folder in this email that shows me action agenda item comments. And so this particular comment is from Rudy Monterosa Jr., 418 West Jefferson Boulevard, South Bend, Indiana, 46601. And it was in regards to action item 10.02. Dear esteemed South Bend School Board members, first I'd like to thank each and every one of you for the tremendous work and effort you placed in 2020. Many of us have uttered the same words. These are unprecedented times, and indeed they have been. While we have no idea when the pandemic will be over, we continue to put our faith and trust in each of you to do what's in the best interest of our students. The fact that you are yet willing to continue to serve this community is a testament to your dedication and commitment to South Bend schools. As we begin 2021, I trust that this board will continue to have open lines of communications with all stakeholders and continue to give a voice to all. I would encourage the board to continue to emphasize access to the meetings as well as encouraging community participation. The talks with the superintendent, the walks in our various corners of the city, and virtual town halls held throughout 2020 were very successful, and I hope the board will continue to support these efforts. I am inspired to see many familiar faces on the board and welcome Mrs. Jeanette McCullough in her new role, though we recognize that for decades she has served South Bend schools. I look forward to meeting her along with Leslie Wesley, District 3, and John Anella at large as my representatives on the board. This board has been a shining example of how people can agree or disagree and still work well with one another, even when we are brokenhearted to see what happened in our country at a national level on January 6, 2021. I am proud to see that, at least in my hometown of South Bend, Indiana, we know how to respect one another and know that our actions serve as an example for the students we hope to educate and inspire. Best wishes to all and to South Bend schools as we see this academic year through. Sincerely, Rudy Monterosa. And I made another mistake because that's a comment, but he has another note. One moment, please. Okay, so this, my apologies. I'll get it right. It'll take a minute, but this is the comment regarding action item 10.02. Rodolfo Monterosa, 418 West Jefferson Boulevard, South Bend, Indiana, 46601. Comments on action item 10.02. I support this action item that seeks to extend certain leave benefits under the Families First Coronavirus Response Act until June 30th, 2021. The South Bend School Board has demonstrated its willingness to step up to the plate and do what it takes to protect teachers, students, and staff. You voted to continue paying employees when schools first shut down in early 2020. You've provided opportunities for students to continue receiving an education in a fashion that would protect them. This particular resolution will continue to provide protections to our committed principals, administration, teachers, and staff. I urge you all to vote in favor of action item 10.02 as we continue to battle this global pandemic. Rodolfo S. Monterosa Jr., attorney at law. He had 2 comments, though. I have clarified, I think. Thank you. And that, let me just double check. That does conclude
Thank you, Ms. Ball.
the comments.
And of course, one of those was an action agenda item. So that's
Yeah,
why. Yep,
yes.
yep. I know. We don't want to break the rules.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Well done on your first day. Let's see this. So that includes our hearing of visitors. So that moves us to board communications. The board has the opportunity to speak at this time. Do any board members wish to speak? Ms. Wesley.
Well, happy New Year to everyone, and I'd just like to say that a special thank you to my colleagues.
You're on.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Happy New Year to everyone. I'd just like to say a special thank you to my colleagues for entrusting me as your vice president here on the board. I'm very excited about being installed for another 4 years, and I look forward to working with everyone. A special thank you to our teachers and our students. I know first semester, of course, was very difficult, but I'd just like to say a very special thank you to all of you, a heartfelt thank you to all of the staff and students, families of South Bend Schools. Again, this has been a very trying time for everyone, but you made it through the first semester of the 2020-2021 school year. And just like to say, let's start off strong this upcoming semester. And Dr. Cummings, again, special thank you to your staff, to all of your staff for a job well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wesley. Anyone else wish to speak at this time?
I just had a couple quick
Yes,
questions.
Ms. Jones.
Is there, I don't know if I direct this to you or Dr. Cummings, is there a reason why we can't put the consent agenda information on the public content of the board docs on the agenda? For instance, the one on the one I asked the question about the contracts, the information that was supplied on there was vague. And so is there any reason why we can't start putting that information on the public content?
It looks like the consent agenda, under public comment, it looks like it's there, isn't it? You know, one thing, and this is something we could discuss, that in the past, things that were under the executive content, once the meeting started, then they were transferred into the public content. I think that can be done, but let us, yeah. So then, because I agree with you that you could see it during the meeting or when you log in to see the meeting that's there.
Yeah, because, you know, I can always get this information from Dr. Cummings afterwards, but it's very helpful to have as much as we can publicized. Now, as far as the marketing strategy, the information that's on there, it says marketing strategy aimed at recruiting, and I'm wondering recruiting what, you know, just to let you know, that's this. And then on the Fellowship of Harvard College data strategies, I'm wondering what data are they strategizing? So as much as we could get on board contents and the public would be very helpful.
And we can talk about how to do that. May I answer those really quickly?
Yes.
So the marketing is part of the grant that we have, the federal $7 million grant we have with IUSB, and a budget line that we have to spend marketing, and that is to expand our outreach to historically Black colleges, universities, to make sure we're reaching folks of diversity all over America. So that is what that contract was for. That's grant money. And then the SDP, Harvard has a strategic data fellowship where we can send one of our employees to get trained and upgraded in how to do data and analytics better. And so we do that with Shane. So we'll send him there to be trained and have his skills upgraded. So that's what that's for.
Okay. And thank you, because see, that's helpful, and that would be helpful for the public to know and understand as well.
And I'll work with Mr. Nella to figure out how we close that.
But also just for informational purposes, it's put on there on the consent agenda because you're allowed to enter contracts as a superintendent under $50,000, correct? Without,
Yeah, I get that.
as a
Yeah.
single action item.
Right, yeah.
So then also when the agenda is posted on board docs on usually what, Thursday, Friday, assuming that would be on there as well. So board members could have questions beforehand as well. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Anything else, Ms. Jones? Ms. McCullough?
I just have one comment.
Sure.
I just have one comment. I'm trying to unmute myself here. I just have one comment, Board President Nella and Superintendent Cummings. I'm just listening to the concerns of the teachers and of course, the concerns I've heard of parents. And no one wants the kids to return to school more than I do. But with the rise in COVID, 25,535 in St. Joe County cases, I think that we should take a hard look at that to make sure that we are following the guidelines and we're adhering to what the health department is saying and listen to what our teachers are saying because they're awfully concerned about getting sick. And so I think we should take a hard look at that before we make a decision.
And one thing that might be nice for Ms. McCullough as a new board member is don't you have a COVID meeting with the health department on a weekly basis?
Bi-weekly. It's bi-weekly now, right?
That'd probably be something that you'd want to be involved with if you want to.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
If you'd like to be involved with the COVID team when they do their calls and their meetings on a bi-weekly basis.
They meet on Fridays. And so I can have Mr. White and Mr. Sanchez add you to that. We are beginning hybrid again with the blessing of the Department of Health. And so same as Pan and Mishawaka, but we can add you to the COVID-19 calls on Friday.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Yes, Ms. Ball.
I had a question, and I think it might be a Robert's Rule of Order question, but kind of getting back to Mrs. Jones' question about consent agenda items, is it not the case that you can pull a consent agenda item out of consent agenda if you change the adoption of the agenda? So say back in item 3, before we adopt the agenda.
Now you're testing our Robert's rules of skills, but you're correct. And you know what? I'll go pull the book off the shelf because you're right. I can't speak exactly to that, but I think it could be pulled out at a board member's request and then would be a separate action item.
We did it before.
So good points.
Yeah. I mean, I'll look up the Robert's Rule, but I'm thinking, just kind of going forward for everybody's kind of attention.
So in the future, if that comes up, it could be pulled out by a board member and then addressed as a separate item. Thank you.
Now, excuse me. So do we request that at the beginning of the meeting or at the time that we're getting ready to discuss them?
I mean, ideally, it would be before the meeting, because if you saw it on the weekend or whenever you were reviewing it, and you'd have more questions you could ask to have it pulled out. But if by some chance you got to the meeting and you realized, I don't know what this is, you could still request at the meeting when it comes to the consent agenda to have that pulled out as a separate item.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
We're pretty flexible.
Well, we're getting there.
Thank you, Ms. Ball. Thank you, Ms. Jones. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no further hands or requests to speak, I understand there might be a football game this evening that some of us or some of you might be interested in seeing. So I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Ms. Wesley, seconded by Ms. McCullough. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? I think we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Stay safe, wear a mask, and we'll see you soon.